The year was 2081 and everybody was finally equal. Nobody was smarter than anybody else. Nobody was better looking than anybody else. Nobody was stronger or quicker than anybody else. George and Hazel are sitting in front of the TV on the television screen were ballerinas. It was April when the HG man took George and Hazel Bergeron's 14-year-old son Harrison away. Hazel had a perfectly average intelligence, which means that she couldn't think about anything except in short bursts. And George, while his intelligence was way above normal, had a little mental handicap radio in his ear. He was required by law to wear it at all times. It was tuned to a government transmitter. Every 20 seconds or so, the transmitter would send out some sharp noise to keep people like George from taking unfair advantage of their brains. If he had one wrong thought, the buzzer sounded in George's head.
That was a real pretty dance, that dance they just did.
Huh?
That dance, it was nice.
Yeah.
He tried to think a little about the ballerinas. They weren't really very good, no better than anybody else would have been anyway. They were burdened with sash rakes and bags of birdshot, and their faces were masked. George was toying with the notion that maybe dancers shouldn't be handicapped, but he didn't get very far with it before another noise in his ear radio scattered his thoughts.
Sounded like somebody hitting a milk bottle with a ball-pen hammer.
I did think it would be real interesting hearing all the different sounds, all the things they think of.
Right.
He began to think about his abnormal son, who was now in jail, about Harrison. But a 21-gun salute in his head stopped that.
All of a sudden you look so tired. Why don't you stretch out on the sofa, so you can rest your handicap back on the pillows, honey bunch?
She was referring to the 47 pounds of birdshot in a canvas bag, which was padlocked around George's neck. George weighted the bag with his hands.
I don't mind it. I don't notice it anymore. It's just a part of me. 2 years in prison and $2,000 fine for every ball I took out.
The television program was suddenly interrupted for a news bulletin.
Ladies and gentlemen,
said the ballerina reading the bulletin. She must have been extraordinarily beautiful, because the mask she wore was hideous, and it was easy to see that she was the strongest and most graceful of all the dancers, for her handicap bags were as big as those worn by 200-pound men.
Harrison Bergeron, aged 14, has just escaped from jail, where he was held on suspicion of plotting to overthrow the government. He's a genius and an athlete, is under-handicapped and should be regarded as extremely dangerous.
A police photograph of Harrison Bergeron was flashed on the screen. The rest of Harrison's appearance was Halloween and hardware. Nobody had ever borne heavier handicaps. Instead of a little ear radio for a mental handicap, he wore a tremendous pair of earphones and spectacles with thick wavy lenses. The spectacles were intended to make him not only half blind, but to give him wanging head edges besides. Scrap metal was hung all over him, and to offset his good looks, the AG man required that he wear at all times a red rubber ball for a nose, keep his eyebrows shaved off, and cover his white teeth with black caps.
My God, that must be Harrison.
The realization was blazed from his mind instantly by the sound of an automobile collision in his head. When George could open his eyes again, the photograph of Harrison was gone. A living, breathing Harrison filled the screen. Harrison stood in the center of the studio. Ballerina, technicians, musicians, and announcers covered on their knees before him, expecting to die.
I'm the Emperor. Do you hear? I'm the Emperor. Everybody must do what I say at once. Even as I stand here, I am a greater ruler than any man who ever lived. Now watch me become what I can become.
Harrison dumped his handicaps. Harrison smashed his headphones and spectacles against the wall.
I shall now select my empress. Let the first woman who dares rise to her feet claim her mate and her throne.
A moment passed, and then a ballerina arose swaying like a willow. Harrison plucked the mental handicap from her ear, snapped off her physical handicaps. Last of all, he removed her mask. She was beautiful.
Now shall we show the people the meaning of the word dance, music.
The musicians scrambled back into their chairs, and Harrison stripped them of their handicaps too.
Play your best, I will make you barons and dukes and earls.
The music began. They leaped like deer on the moon. It became their obvious intention to kiss the ceiling. They kissed it, they kissed each other for a long, long time. It was then that Diana Moonclampers, the handicapper general, came into the studio with a shotgun. She fired twice, and the emperor and the empress were dead before they hit the floor. Diana Moonclampers loaded the gun again. She aimed it at the musicians and told them they had 10 seconds to get their handicaps back on. It was then that the Bergeron's television tube burned out. George came out of the kitchen with beer, and then he sat down again.
You've been crying?
Yep,
What about?
I forget. Something real sad on television.
What was it?
It's all kind of mixed up in my mind.
Forget sad things.
I always do.
That's my girl.
He winced. There was the sound of a rewetting gun in his head.
I could tell that one was a doozy.
You can say that again?
I could tell that one was a doozy.